Hey, everybody. Welcome into The Big Factor here on the Big Play Sports Network. Ryan Tyler, Jack Rourke, Nick Padone. And guys, I am so excited and thrilled to welcome in our guest on The Big Factor, Emmy Award winning actor and comedian Jeremy Piven, who is currently on his comedy tour, making a stop here in the great city of Cleveland, show at the Agora Theater this Thursday before he heads to the, I guess I'll say, great city of Pittsburgh. We have a little rivalry here in Cleveland for another show on Friday. Jeremy, welcome to Cleveland, man. So happy you're here. Thanks for giving us the time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. You've done shows so far on your tour, California, Texas, Florida, amongst other places. Just how's the tour going? And again, can't tell you how excited we are to have you here in our city of Cleveland.
Tour's great. I was just filming in London, so I jumped on a plane. I went from London to Pittsburgh to Cleveland, and I'm just happy to be back in the Midwest. I'm from Chicago, as you guys know. Our cities are very similar. Hardworking Midwest people. We grind it out. We love our sports. I'm a little disappointed in the Browns, you know.
Oh,
yeah.
No. Well, I mean, like, just because they let go my guy Baker back in the day, you know, and they've made some interesting decisions. Obviously, Myles Garrett was, you know, God bless Myles Garrett. First of all, he is Hall of Famer, one of the best players, and it's just really it makes me happy to know sport. One of the reasons I love sports so much is it makes sense. You hunt and kill your own food. You know, you got a guy like Myles Garrett, and he's just brilliant at what he does, and then they compensate him for that. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's really cool. I appreciate that. You know, other lanes, you know, there are a bunch of different variables that go into really paying someone, but, you know, I feel like the good guy won in this particular case, so I think they got it right. I think that they've been very interesting with their choices in quarterbacks. And, you know, you run Baker out of town, and, you know, a guy like that, you know, it wasn't in fashion, let's say, to be a cocky white boy. Let's be honest. And they ran him out. I know it's too early to get like this. But they ran him out.
No,
and
never too early.
Never too early. I love it. I mean, like, a guy like Baker, you get to see what he's really about. Like, you know, the Rams bring him in. He learns the entire playbook at the speed of light. He has a photographic memory. You know, there's a reason why he is as good as he is, and he'll continue to be. And, you know, it's too bad they got it wrong, but it's all part of it. I do love the fan base here. I really do, because you guys are like us. You're very loyal.
Yes.
So I was going to say with that, too, when you talk about that Midwest, like, you kind of not hate everyone else, but, like, we're our own little thing, and we're not as glitz and glam as everywhere else. Like, Baker kind of embodied that, like, when you would go in, slide, just lay down a hit on the helmet as a quarterback. Like, we're definitely missing that in Cleveland right now.
Yeah. Who you guys? I hate to bring up a sore spot, but who's a quarterback for you guys now?
Well, we're trying to move off the Deshaun Watson thing currently. So that's a big that's a tough pill to swallow. You know, they still owe him $46 million. I think he's going to sit at home.
Okay.
And then the only quarterback on the roster presently is Kenny Pickett from the Steelers.
Kenny Pickett, that's right. Okay.
And then
Pickett.
we're probably trying to draft somebody with the number 2 overall pick. So we're back. Our Super Bowl here in Cleveland is the NFL draft. So we're gearing up for late April to find out who the next quarterback's going to be.
Well, listen, I hope you guys get Archie Manning someday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if his family's going to let him come to Cleveland. That might be the issue with that one.
You never know, man. I just drove past your field. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really great. And also, I'm going to be playing at the Agora on Thursday. Have you guys been there?
Oh yeah. Yeah, the Agora is a great theater. It's in a really cool part of Cleveland as well. Like, it's not, you know, downtown. It's a little bit off the beaten path.
Yeah.
In that Coventry. Yeah, it's an awesome place.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I've seen pictures. I've known people that have played there. It's just an honor to be playing such a beautiful theater. I come from the theater in Chicago. You know, I started when I was 8 years old at the Piven Theater, and it's my home. It's what I do. You know, I mean, I got up on stage as an actor at 8. I started playing football immediately. I played at Evanston High School, which is predominantly black. Well, I was one of the only white boys on the football team, and I played in the 80s. Doesn't look like it. I'm very vain. You know, I'm like a Cuban baseball player. I lie about my age. You know what I mean? I'm totally delusional.
That was still Carmona.
Yeah, man. So they don't have any 5'9" Jewish linebackers in the NFL, so I wasn't going to make it. Let's be honest.
Well, Jeremy, you've made yourself such a name in both, acting and now in your comedy journey. They're different, there's a lot of similarities between those, but at the same time, one is live in front of an audience and others behind the cameras. What is the main difference to you, do you think, in between your comedy and your acting, and where do you see these similarities? How do they mesh, and how are you able to do both, so well at such a high level?
Well, it's interesting because I could almost kind of do a documentary or a TED Talk or bore the hell out of people about what it's like for someone to switch lanes and do comedy, stand up. And imagine a guy, I've been on stage my whole life, many, many, many decades, and been doing comedy, started at Second City in Chicago with Chris Farley in the 90s. So I've been doing improv and comedy and, won awards for playing Ari Gold, which is a comedy, my whole life. And yet, writing your own material and being a stand-up is different. So yes, the performance element is a variable. I'm very comfortable on stage. It's where I've spent most of my life. But coming up with bits and jokes and misdirects and an hour set is something that, you have to earn. And I've loved the journey. I'm getting up when I'm not on tour in LA, in New York, and getting up in the middle of lineups with killers. And it's my job to thrive. And I love it. I love the pressure. I love being counted out. There's nothing better for me. It's just really fuel for me, when I hear someone say, oh, yeah, that's all we need, another actor trying to do stand-up. It's like, well, I'm going to do an hour set, and people come up to me afterwards, and they go, I didn't know you were this funny. And to me, after doing 80 movies, for someone to say that means that I'm on to something.
Yeah, how do I want to put this? You've had so much success in your career. How has you began acting when you were so young, as you mentioned. How has your definition or your outlook on success and, what's the most important part of your career? How has that kind of evolved as you as a person and you as a comedian and an actor?
I think great question, by the way. They're just, I grew up in a theater family in Chicago. I'm a stage actor from Chicago. When you strip everything away, no one handed me anything. I've never been any particular type. I'm not. I played the acerbic best friend for 40 movies before I broke through with Entourage. I won the Fresh Face of the Year at 40. So I could be the poster child for never give up, to be honest with you, because nothing in my career makes sense. It's hard to beat a guy that doesn't give up. I'm never going to give up. So, we're living in times where, people, it did work before to bring people down. And then now we're at a point now where it's like, well, the people have spoken. And if you can connect with an audience and if you're going to do the right thing, then people are going to back you. And when I walk down the street and I see people's face light up and like I've made them laugh and I've connected with them in your generation, it's crazy because there are all these younger people coming up to me during the pandemic who binged Entourage. So now, unbeknownst to HBO, there you go. There you go. So unbeknownst to HBO, we have a whole new audience. Like, I don't want to tell anyone what to do. Our boy Jerry Ferrara, who lives here in he played Turtle. He lives here in Ohio, and they've made a lot of reboots that haven't really connected. We're a show that not only hasn't gone anywhere. I tour around. I play these beautiful theaters. People are screaming, I'm a douchebag because of you, bro. Let's hug it out, bitch. Ari! They just can't get enough. And, I've had people say to me, this one British friend, and he's like, mate, he calls me Jezza. Tell me you're like Ari. Just a little bit. Mate, just a little bit. Are you a little bit like Ari? I go, well, I'm a stage actor from Chicago, but if someone rear ends me in traffic, I'll start yelling and you'll see Ari. But I am not a titan of business that, is all, Ari Emanuel is Ari Gold. There is an Ari Gold out there. He represents now. You know, he represented Mark Wahlberg and whatnot. He's not even an agent anymore. He's an entrepreneur that owns the UFC and WWE. He's Ari Gold. You know, if you think I'm Ari Gold, I'm going to bore the hell out of you. I want to talk about acting and sports. Ari Emanuel will talk to you about deals and what Hollywood's really like. So I do it for the love of the game. Turning point moments in my life, winning my first Emmy and then 3 in a row. You know, being on stage my whole life and finally breaking through. And there was something very sports-like about that in the way that, you know, I kept going until I got this tiny role. I mean, Entourage was, I did 40 tiny roles in movies, and then Entourage was one scene in the pilot. And then because of the way it was written and maybe the way I performed it, it kind of evolved and explored and heightened into what we now know what it is. I then really, really got the joke, which is no one's going to save you. No one's going to get you. You know, if you're misunderstood, make them understand. It's your job. My mother, who passed away recently, gave me a short story out of the New Yorker called The Performance about a Jewish tap dancer that hides his identity and dances for Hitler in 1937. I had my sister adapt it and direct it. I produced and starred in it. It's the best work in my life by far, and it comes out this year. And you'll get a chance to see who I am and what I do. Given the shot, what am I going to do? I'm going to do The Performance, and you're going to see it. And, you know, you love it, hate it, whatever. It's the best reviews of my life. I was on the short list for the Oscars this year. Unfortunately, we didn't have the funds to mount a campaign, and I learned the hard way that that's a huge variable. There's some brilliant movies that everyone should see, like Nora.
Yes.
And, you know, that had the right amount of money to get people to see the movie.
Yeah.
And thank God, because this could be the turning point for entertainment. Now people will go, well, wait a minute. I want to see a movie that moves me, that I connect with, like Nora. I don't know if I want to see Black Adam or the Tooth Fairy, or I don't know if The Rock needs to save us again. You know, maybe he needs to jump off the top rope, you know, or something like that. He's the highest paid actor, and he's never taken an acting class. And I'm very bitter. And you can see me, by the way, at the Agora Theater unpacking all of this.
Yes, absolutely. Go get your
You're
tickets.
welcome.
Like we said, Jeremy Piven will be at the Agora this Thursday playing a show. Beautiful venue, by the way. Jeremy, I want to ask you, you know, when you're up on the stage, you're not portraying a character, you know, you're yourself. And a big part of that is being loose. But when you play such a dramatic, emotional role like you do Harold May in The Performer, how important it is that you can connect with, you can identify yourself in real life to the character in order to really portray the emotion, the drive of a character with such an amazing story like in The Performer with Harold May.
It's called The Performance.
Performance, sorry.
No, it's all good, brother. Thank you for the great questions. You know, it's not... The job of an actor is to not judge the characters. Listen, when Ari Gold says, you know, it's all about the money, baby. It's always about the money, you know? And when I come from a theater family where, you know, I never made more than $50 a week performing until I left the stage in Chicago and went to Hollywood and started making, you know, some scraps, playing smaller roles and blah, blah, blah. My journey's a little different. I can't judge Ari Gold. I have to give him all the integrity in the world. He started off as a pig, and the reality is he never cheated on his wife, and that duality was fascinating to me. You thought he cheated on her, but he was true. He was honorable to her, and you thought, you know, he has the Mrs. Ari wears the pants. Ari has all bark, and that duality was fascinating. And he practiced tough love with everyone. He wanted Lloyd to win. You know, but, you know, he said some things to Lloyd that over the past few years, you know, it would be a wrap for you. We're entering into a different time. So Harold May in The Performance is Jeremy Piven. I mean, he like, is it essential that you find a character that is you? No. And if you get lucky in this life, when my mother gave me the short story and she said to me, there's something in here for you. And, you know, she's been my acting teacher for forever, and she was right, man. The role is like, it was like doing it was me and my journey in a different form. I'm not a tap dancer, but I studied for 10 years to be able to pull the roll off, and I was just barely good enough to do it. Tapping is an incredible art, and I've been a drummer my whole life, but to learn how to play the drums with your feet is something different. So I worked my ass off and found and scraped and got the money, and it's the performance of my life. And sometimes the hardest things have the biggest payoffs. Man, this is like a TED Talk.
Sorry. Well, I was going to ask because that is super impressive to learn tap dancing. I mean, I'm someone who probably could never do anything like that if I tried. I don't have the rhythm to really get moving around.
We don't want Jack doing
surprised.
that.
You
never know. Maybe.
You'd be surprised.
We do not want Jack.
I was
going to
ask with that. So one of my favorite scenes of you when you're playing Ari is the writing "Get the fuck out" on the board, and like you talk about the different methods of whatever you do, and you do that little tap dance for the second before you tell him to get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Was that one of your first like dry runs of doing it in front of an audience or in front of people?
It's funny you say that because that was before.
Oh, really?
But my mother handed me the performance, and ironically, what I'm doing there as Ari Gold is firing someone who didn't step up and they didn't perform. Not unlike what's going on today, which is, they're cleaning house and they're trying to figure out the best way to utilize our tax dollars. And so Ari, in that scene, was firing a guy that wasn't really stepping up, and he was kind of dismissing, anyone who was frivolous and there will be no more of this circus-like behavior, no more tap dancing. So Ari Gold was dismissing tap dancing as a frivolous activity. You know what I mean? So, me, I don't want to speak in the third person. I want to do what's best for Jeremy Piven. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, y'all? I mean, come on now. I'm just a kid from Akron. I'm not even supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be there, sir. You're 6'9" with 4% body fat.
Like we were about to do the
you know who's not supposed to be there? Me, a 5'8" Jew with the vertical of Nancy Pelosi. That's who's not supposed to be there, sir. Anyway, come see me at the Agora. You're gonna laugh your ass off.
All right, Jimmy. Last question for you before we let you get out of here. Thanks so much for your time.
Absolutely.
How special was it to collaborate so closely with your sister, who also co-wrote and directed the film? That has to be such an amazing journey. You mentioned the film; it was many years in the progress of it. You took tap dancing lessons. You broke a rib. I mean, that's absolutely insane.
Actually.
Broke 8 ribs. Excuse me.
Yeah.
But how special was that to do that all while collaborating so closely with your sister?
It represents where I come from. I just got very lucky. I come from the theater where, people are like, "Oh, you're in the business." I'm like, "Well, the business? Well, there's no business. We didn't make any money. My parents didn't make any money. Everyone was on scholarship in Chicago. My parents knew intrinsically there wasn't an even playing field. So they would give people of color or anyone who a chance at a time when that wasn't happening. By the way, that wasn't a performative gesture. That wasn't tweeting out how virtuous you were. They weren't virtue signaling. No one knew they were doing it. They were doing it for the right reasons. So I grew up incredibly liberal for the right reasons before it became the fashion. That's a whole other conversation, my friends. Anyway, so my sister and I grew up in the work, and we were incredibly lucky. I grew up in an old folks' home. We were poor. I mean, I didn't know that. I thought I was rich as hell because I got to get up on stage and make people laugh and perform. I was like, man, I'm living the dream. But I literally was living in an old folks' home. I thought everyone had a neck brace and a walker. I swear to God. I was like, this is where I live. It's all good. But we saved money because you don't make any money. My dad didn't make any money as an actor. So I come by all this honestly. My sister and I were on shorthand. She's a brilliant director. She could say little tweaks for me, and I could go, okay, got it. Yes, check, thank you, great. And then we just did our thing. And if you want to see what my thing is, this is me. This is who I am. And this is, if you give me a shot, this is what I'm going to do. That's what the performance is. I hate to get so dramatic on a sports show, but it's like like any athlete that's like, oh, okay, You think you can call the plays? Let's see what you got. It's like, I got the plays, man. I got them, and I want to show you what I got. So go deep, and I'll whip it to you, motherfucker.
Let me put my
As you can
cleats
imagine,
on.
we're taking a lot of comments on the stream right now. One of the most recurring and maybe a little bit of a lighter way to turn this interview, people want to know about PCU, what it was like working with all those talented actors, and obviously that's kind of a legendary flick in its moment.
Yeah, David Spade and I were children, and he's gone on to be this, force in the comedy scene.
Yeah.
George Clinton, Jon Favreau has gone on to take over the Marvel universe, and basically the Favreaus of the world needs his flowers for many reasons. And here's what I'll tell you is I think the number one reason. No one would hire Robert Downey, no one, but Favreau said, "This is my guy," for all the right reasons. He was the best choice. Downey is an absolute beast, funny, chops in the dramatic sense, and there's nothing he can't do, and he's brave, and he's a killer. So Favreau said, "This is my guy," and they said, "We can't insure him," and he said, "No, this is my guy," and it's rare when people do that, and they say, "Okay, this is the least popular idea," but Favreau knew intrinsically what Downey would do, and you can't predict box office, but he knew he would make that role edgy, and every moment would be truthful, and it would be weighted in sincerity, and then the rest is out of your control, and of course the rest is history. So Favreau needs his flowers for going to the mat for someone, and I think we need more of that today. We need more people going, "Yeah, man, we're gonna bring you in because you're qualified and you've paid your dues and you're ready to step up," as opposed to, "I want to tick these boxes and look a certain way." You know what I mean? I need some elevation because I don't feel I'm enough or they're enough. It's like, we're all enough. God damn, this is a brilliant TED Talk. You are enough. Let's get T-shirts.
For sale at the Agora.
Yeah, let's go. Put it on a T-shirt.
Come on down. We'll hug it the fuck out, and I'll give you are enough T-shirts.
Absolutely.
Jeremy, we cannot thank you enough for giving us your time. Like he said, I am so excited to go to your show at the Agora Theater this Thursday. And if you're listening in Pittsburgh, he'll be there Friday, guys. So go check that out.
Oh, I'll be at Pittsburgh at the Bynum Theater.
Yep, go check out
another beautiful theater.
Yes.
Jens, get there.
Yeah, and the funniest intersect, I have to say, I know there's been some comments as well, because we aired your commercial with Tipico Sportsbook so many times, and we haven't talked about Tipico on this network in several months. They were acquired by MGM, so you did so well for them that they got bought out.
Well, thank you, and well, I appreciate that because no one talks about that, but one of the things that I think that certain people in positions of power don't know is people's actual reach.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think if they did, it would make things a little different. I'm very blessed that I have a reach, that I could do these commercials, and I throw myself into this stuff. I played a bunch of different characters, as you guys saw. It took me a really long time to shoot all that, and I loved it. It was really fun. Shot in Chicago, went to a Bulls game afterwards. Speaking of the Bulls, I grew up in Chicago, and at one point, this is how old I am. I remember, watching Michael Jordan in their classic run in the 90s, and I was a local stage actor, and so they kind of had a little bit of love for me. I was like a local guy. And I was working a bit, doing some TV, and so they had love for me, and they let me in. I didn't have a seat, and Ahmad Rashad, who is MJ's best friend now, who was calling the game, said, "Oh, yeah, sit in press row." I said, "Oh, cool." So I was sitting with press, and they said, "Well, here's the only problem is you can't cheer."
Yeah.
And I was like, "What?"
That's a little known rule.
Yeah,
about,
you can't cheer if you have to be neutral. You know what I mean? So try being neutral and watching Michael Jordan live. I forgot who I was, where I was. I was just screaming, jumping out of my seat. They threw me out of the stadium. Ahmad Rashad's like, no, man, he's with me. And they just threw me out of the madhouse. And it was like, what a way to go. Like I couldn't. You watch Michael Jordan, and it's pretty surreal. And there's a reason why, he's never lost an NBA Finals. He's won Defensive Player of the Year many, many times. There will never, and bless you, Bron, and I love LeBron. I love him. He was on Entourage, and I saw him not too long ago at the All-Star game, and he's just a really like decent human being, and he will go down. Listen, it's not a competition in terms of like bro, LeBron is the GOAT. He's the absolute GOAT, and will go down, and the longevity and everything. And yet, I don't know if there will ever be anyone like MJ. It's just all the guys that played with him, they just say that's the truth, And then if you make him angry, he's going to go to another level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and these are all the greatest players in the world. I don't know how we got on that subject, but it was insane to get, and worth it to watch MJ back in the day. And then to get thrown out of the stadium.
Yeah, people don't realize that you can't cheer on media.
That's what.
Yeah,
I was going to ask. Were you watching when Matt Eberflus coached his last game as a Chicago Bear?
Was I at the stadium?
No, last season when they had all the.
It was the Thanksgiving game.
The Thanksgiving
right?
game, yeah.
Yeah, where he didn't use the timeout.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on his exit out the door from Soldier Field?
You know what, man? I think it's very easy to judge people, and what we forget is like Matt Eberflus has been the best coach in every field he ever walked on, and he's playing on the highest level, ever, and we don't know what it's like to deal with that type of pressure. Yes, we can go, my God, man, you really blew it. There are a lot of variables going on, so. Listen, I'm a Chicago Bears fan. It was a bummer. The Tom Brady's of the world, the Brett Favre's, the Aaron Rodgers, blah, blah, blah. They all apprenticed the job. It doesn't really seem to happen anymore. People want results right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Would those guys have been who they are if they would have thrown them in as rookies? I don't think so. We don't know. But
the social media too, like baby Tom Brady before he got good. I mean, Peyton Manning threw over 15 picks his rookie year.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta nurture these guys a bit, and we've the Justin Fields of the world. Where will they end up? We don't know. The Caleb Williams, in our case, like Caleb did incredibly well for a rookie in there, and he will continue to get better. And we're gonna see. Dan Campbell has created this culture, and it's real. That guy is authentic, and people will run through walls for him.
Absolutely.
You can't duplicate that. So anyway, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah,
Dan
for sure.
Campbell biting
Great
kneecaps.
stuff.
Jeremy Piven, ladies and gentlemen, don't be an idiot. Go check out the performance, his film. Also, the Agora Theater, Thursday. Go buy your tickets. They will sell out. I promise you that. Beautiful venue. You don't want to miss it. Jeremy, we cannot thank you enough for your time. Hope you enjoy your stay in Cleveland. And then Friday, hope you have a wonderful show at Pittsburgh as well. We appreciate you coming out, man.
All right. Thank you, guys. Take care.
All right.
See you Thursday.
You got it. All right. We'll be right back on The Big Factor. are back here on the Big Factor on the Big Play Sports Network. Ryan Tyler, Jack O'Rourke, Nick Padone, and we are brought to you today, like we are every single day, by our great friends at Fairway Ford Ohio. Fairway Ford is the biggest Ford truck dealership in the state of Ohio. They have the largest selection of Ford F-150s and Super Duty trucks. Guys, I promise you they will not be beat on price by any other Ford dealer. Please do not let a short drive to Canfield, Ohio prevent you from saving thousands. That's literally thousands of dollars that you're saving on your new ride over at Fairway Ford. Fairway Ford is the largest inventory of new Ford trucks, lowest pricing, and as well as the same hometown level of service. That's fairwayfordohio.com. Visit fairwayfordohio.com. Guys, that was awesome. Huge shout out to Jeremy Piven. Go get your tickets. He's at the Agora this Thursday. That's just in 2 days. He'll be at Pittsburgh Friday, not too far if you can't make the Thursday show. I'm so excited to go see him perform. I haven't seen him perform stand-up, but we all know him in his acting career, but he's made a seamless transition that not many actors can do, guys. It's not that easy to go from acting to comedy. Few people can make it happen, and Jeremy Piven's one of them. Huge thank you to him for coming on the Big Factor, guys. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, big factors on a generational run, man. So
2017 Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, from Joshua Block to Jeremy Piven, you never know what you're going to get on this program.
Yeah. Hey, and John Fanta, Thursday, 10 a.m., right before the games kick off. Don't want to miss that, so you can get your last second brackets filled out.
We are back on the announcing guests ahead of time wave.
All right, we could
was momentarily canceled for a couple minutes.
For a few minutes, we were unsure about Piven's arrival at Burke Lakefront Airport. Pat told me there's like an arrest going on right now, like at the airport.
This is like the craziest building in the world.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
Love this place.
Burke Lakefront Airport has a lot of parallels to the Parmatown Mall. And that's and today was the first time that I realized that, like, the fact that we had an Emmy Award winning comedian at the same time that somebody's getting dragged out of this place in handcuffs, and we were sweating on
Macy's is like the museum over there.
Yeah,
it's like, like, that's where all the fancy people are. Yeah,
we were sweating on if he was gonna show up. I'm not big on promoting guests. I've never have been, just because during my time, both professionally and like at Big Play, I've gotten burned. Like when Padone My Take was in existence, I'd gotten burned a couple good times about people that said that they were going to click on. I'd be live, trying to text them like, hey, are you clicking on? Are you clicking on? So I've never been big on promoting guests, but I'm glad we did. I'm glad Piven came through. That was an awesome interview. Hopefully he doesn't text us for asking for $1,500 like Joshua Block
Wouldn't
did.
you know it?
I get the feeling Joshua Block's probably a little bit more pressed for money than Jeremy Piven is.
Probably.
Just a wild
just a
hunt.
smidge.
Maybe just a smidge.
Well, I don't know if Jeremy Piven has a $400K a year deal on Party. So I don't know.
Yeah,
it might be getting pulled, by the way.
Yeah,
Jack.
there's rumors of that. But yeah, as a huge Entourage fan, like, I've always loved the Ari Gold character. He's kind of like what everyone wants to be in a way. Like, you wish you could just say whatever came to your mind at all times and have it be somewhat acceptable, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, but just a super nice dude too. Like, even when he was off air talking to us and everything, like, just seems like a salt of the earth kind of guy. Take his shirt off his back for you.
Yeah. Well, I suppose, guys, it's time to talk a little bit of sports. Although we did talk sports with Jeremy Piven.
Yeah,
we did. Shout out his Chicago Bears. They have a future quarterback, probably. We don't. So at least he has that going for him.
Yep.
Juan Thornhill, Pittsburgh Steeler. I'm not mad about it. Doesn't seem like he's mad about it either, repping the terrible towel. Disgusting. Guys, I mean, let's call it for what it is. A horrible signing by Andrew Berry. It never worked out. The lack of effort was there. The guy couldn't tackle. That guy couldn't cover. I'm happy he's going to be playing against us twice a year.
Hey, how about the con artists bringing in Slay and Thornhill past in their twilight of their careers in one offseason? I mean, that Steelers secondary is looking scary.
You know, the thing with Juan Thornhill is I just don't understand. Like, it didn't work out. And I mean, how many times in sports, and it's easy to like make fun of Andrew Berry and make fun of the Cleveland Browns because it's low-hanging fruit because it didn't work out. And it almost never works out for the guys that they bring in. But Juan Thornhill didn't work out. Let's let him go to Pittsburgh. Who cares? Like, the fact that he was on social media searching his own name last night, like arguing with poor Adam the Bull, like, what did Adam the Bull do? You know, other than call a spade a spade. It was a bad signing. He wasn't any good. Adam the Bull's just calling it how he sees it. Then Juan Thornhill's getting into Twitter beef with him. Like, it's all so unnecessary for Juan Thornhill to just continue to engage with fans and media who are just doing their job, being fans, being, Adam the Bull doing his show. Like, Juan Thornhill's just got to, like, grow up a little. I think that's also part of why this never worked out. He was consistently arguing with people on social media and TikTok Live. Like, it's good riddance, like, almost, really.
You know how they're like you're babysitting or watching a little kid and they do something wrong, and it's like, okay, like, kids do stuff wrong all the time, but then they're just an asshole about it for no reason after.
Right.
And you're like, okay, like this, like, are we really going to do this now? That's what Juan Thornhill is. Like, the contract went bad, but he's always been a malcontent while he's been in Cleveland. He never wanted to be here. It seemed like outside the money, which has kind of been a recurring theme with that Browns free agency class of whatever year that was. But you don't like, why do you have to go on TikTok and throw the Browns hat down and play renegade? Like, you're not good. It's not like you're a 5-star switching schools at the last moment. You're Juan Thornhill. You're a 74 overall in Madden.
Insecure. To be honest with you guys, that's the only word I could think of is insecure. You come from Kansas City, a Super Bowl program. It's not college, a Super Bowl franchise.
He's got 2 rings. Yeah.
You got 2 rings. You think you come to Cleveland, you know how to handle yourself. Didn't work out. You're splitting snaps with Ronnie Hickman at UDFA. Oh, well, it is what it is. That doesn't work out. Quarterback news, guys. Aaron Rodgers still doesn't have a home. Russell Wilson still doesn't have a home. Jameis Winston doesn't have a home after visiting the Giants. When are these dominoes going to fall? And when is Cleveland going to have a quarterback?
It's going to be one after another, right? Is that how it's going to happen?
It should
be.
As
soon as one of them signs, I think we'll get them both within the next couple of hours. I don't know where we're even leaning at this point. I'm starting to think it might be draft whoever first, almost the reverse of what we thought they would do, and then maybe they're going to find someone in the middle of summer. I don't know.
It's Russ. I hate to tell you because I know you're not a fan of it. I really do think it's going to be Russell Wilson.
Dog Pound Nation.
I don't. I think it's going to be Carson Wentz. I think that.
Ryan.
Yeah, Jack came in here this morning, was talking about Carson Wentz, and I wasn't listening.
And here's why. I don't think the Browns are going to be able to afford what Russell Wilson's going to command. I don't think Russell Wilson's going to make a lot of money. I just think the Browns, again, you have to remember, they're paying a guy $46 million in that position group to sit at home. I don't think they love Kenny Pickett. I don't know that they're over the moon with Kenny Pickett's Pitt tape where he ran the Kevin Stefanski offense. I'm sure they're excited about it. They like Kenny Pickett because he's on the books for $2 million. I think that's the kind of arena that they're looking to play in. And I don't know when that kind of move would come, because if you get Carson Wentz, is that kind of signaling to the rest of the league that it is a quarterback at 2 overall? So they got to be a little bit coy on how they play it. That's probably why they brought Russell Wilson into Cleveland to begin with. Is the interest real? Sure. I'm sure the Browns would like Russell Wilson, but I think Russell Wilson would rather go to Pittsburgh or New York, where he's going to be able to clear a much bigger payday than what the Browns are going to be able to do.
I just don't understand the notion of whether the Browns bring in Russell Wilson, whether they bring in Carson Wentz. Don't care who it is. You could bring in anybody. Why does that alter the Browns draft plans at 2?
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't. What are you going to do? Bank on next year you get Arch Manning? You don't know what the quarterback class is going to project to be next season. You just draft a guy, and guess what? If you fail, which you've done countless times, you're in the same position you are now. I understand the anomaly of, or whose nickname is that in the NBA now? The anomaly?
The anomaly is
no, Mobley or Tatum? I think it's Tatum.
Because Mobley's the enigma, I think.
Regardless, your future, you need to draft a quarterback. If you fail,
Jason Tatum,
you're going to be drafting a quarterback next year anyway, probably, if Shador or Cam Ward, whoever it is, comes out and looks like they stink. I understand the appeal of drafting Abdul Carter, drafting Travis Hunter, but you gotta throw darts until you hit a quarterback in the draft. You're not going to be in this in 2 years. Sign a free agent. When has that ever worked out?
Ryan, I saw this morning. Speaking of like Browns draft,
that's where I was going.
Mel Kiper put his mock up, as did somebody else.
Daniel
Jeremiah,
yeah.
and they both had Abdul Carter to the Browns at number 2.
I just don't understand it.
I don't think that's the pick. The Browns under Andrew Berry have not valued linebacker or outside linebacker. If you polled, I would say all NFL GMs, probably probably half of them would tell you that they view Abdul Carter as an outside linebacker, a tweener. He's not a traditional 4-3 edge that could play with his hand in the dirt opposite Miles every single snap, because he's small. He's
a Micah.
Smaller, 240, like more similar to a Michael Parsons for sure. The Browns have not valued that. The Browns just paid Troyan Shoyinka from Tampa Bay a 1-year, $4 million trial prove-it deal. That's what they view outside linebackers as. A 1-year, $4 million Sione Taki type guy. They were not going to spend the number 2 overall pick in the NFL draft. I think it's going to be a quarterback. Same with Travis Hunter. Are you going to draft Travis Hunter as a wide receiver who's not viewed as the best wide receiver in this class? That's Tet out of Arizona, who's the best wide receiver in this class. At number 2 overall, I don't see it. I know right now all these big names at ESPN and all these other outlets are going to continue to mock non-quarterbacks to the Browns. But I think deep down, when push comes to shove and you're on the clock, they're going to submit that card with a quarterback's name on it, whether it's Shador, whether it's Cam, whatever.
How about MKC? How about MKC's mock draft today? 2 quarterbacks in the first round. Or not mock draft, but that's what you came out and said.
Clip,
correct?
yeah.
So what was it again? It was Shedeur at 2, trade
Shedeur
back
at
into the
2,
first
trade
round.
back into the
Tyler
first
Show.
with 33 and get Tyler Show or Chuck or
That is
whatever.
I'm not going to deny how appealing it sounds to, now that you have Myles Garrett locked up for the foreseeable future, to pair a young star, at least you expect to be a star in Abdul Carter, two premier pass rushers, especially one on a rookie deal. That's great, and you saw what the Eagles were able to do throughout the playoffs this season in the Super Bowl, ultimately winning it because how effective their defensive line was. You saw Patrick Mahomes had no time. He had no chance in that game. The Eagles absolutely wrecked him. That's great, but guys, they have Jalen Hurts. They have a quarterback who can move the offense, and you got to get that first. Like, the defense is great, and I understand that, but you got to just go until you get a guy. And I understand the frustration because it seemed like the Browns can never do it, but you just got to keep digging in that well until you find somebody competent, because in 2 years, what are you going to do? Abdul Carter could be an all-pro. Myles Garrett could still be an all-pro, but if you got schlums throwing the ball across the yard, you're not going anywhere.
Smells like 3 or 4 wins.
It smells like the Browns.
Yeah.
Of old.
Yeah, and you could still do both. There's nothing from stopping the Browns from doing a little bit of everything. Like, there are still holes in this entire roster. Do they need a quarterback? Yes. Do they need to end opposite Myles? Would be nice. You've got that 33 overall pick, which is practically another first rounder. Maybe trade back in, get your defensive end late in the first round, take a flyer on Jack Sawyer, draft a left tackle. That's another need that has not come up a whole lot, especially if you're going to have a rookie quarterback back there and a guy in Shedeur Sanders whose one knock is that he tends to hold onto the ball for a little long. I don't know. Maybe think about protecting that guy. There are more than just one need. And I know, like, nobody in this room, because we all want a quarterback, is trying to say that a quarterback will solve everything. What we're trying to say is you're not going anywhere until you solve that. So let's solve that. And it'll be easier once you solve that to find that complementary edge, to find a left tackle. Look at the freaking Washington Commanders just traded for the best left tackle in football after they went to the NFC Championship game because they found their quarterback.
And by the way, sticking around with the Commanders, what did they do before they drafted Jada Daniels? They were awful, and at that trade deadline, they traded their best defense player, Montez Sweat. Yep. Well, look, they seem to be fine.
Mad. People were big mad about that.
They were.
And Chase Young.
And you got to put your pants on before you put your shoes on, and that kind of goes to drafting the quarterback. And, like, for the people that are saying, at least in my opinion, there's no quarterback that's worthy of this high of a pick. Well, I'm not a draft scout guru, and I understand people are hyping up Abdul Carter, but is he as good as Myles Garrett was coming out of the draft? No. Is he going to be a star-studded, locked, all-pro perennial player, future Hall of Famer? I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong, but nobody knows how these guys are going to project, and I agree. You got to go get your quarterback,
I mean,
man.
I think Abdul
you can't
Carter
be afraid to
will
fail
be
on
good.
You can't be afraid to fail.
Abdul Carter will be very good.
Yeah, I'm sure he will be.
Yeah,
odds are.
But odds are that he will be. But that doesn't mean that he's a Myles Garrett game wrecker, game changer type of player. And you have Jim Schwartz, who historically has run a 4-3. You need an end that could put his hand in the grass and go rush the quarterback. Unless they change things up a little bit and maybe they tell Myles, hey, like, now that you're here and you got this no trade clause, like, we're going to change our philosophy. Like, I know you love the 4-3. We're going to tweak some things. We're going to do some more 3-4. Like, I don't see Abdul Carter being a fit in Cleveland because he's not he's an outside linebacker.
And you're going to be going against Joe Burrow twice a year at least, Lamar Jackson twice a year at least. Who knows if it'll be Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh, right? You can only shut him down so much. More so Burrow and Lamar. Like, you see the extensions they just gave T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Bengals could damn well put up 35 points a game next season, right? Browns defense is as good as it is. That's very hard to limit. You need somebody that can put up points on your end. That's all I got to say.
We don't have that.
We do not. All right, we're going to take a break. When we get back, we'll wrap this thing up. We got to talk about this Tokyo series. The MLB officially starts today, although it doesn't seem like it. I don't know if you guys woke up. I caught a little bit of it. 6 a.m. first pitch in Tokyo. That's absolutely crazy. We'll talk about that when we wrap up the Big Factor. Rob Manfred, what are we doing, man? What are we doing? 6 a.m. MLB season officially started today in Tokyo. I mentioned 6 a.m. first pitch. That is damn early, guys. That's right when I wake up. Dodgers get the first win of their season 4-1. Shadi Manga had a good outing. Doesn't get the win, though. Yamamoto, he pitched there. That was pretty cool. You have two Japanese-born players going against each other. I understand why you did it, but that doesn't mean it's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, at least put it on the 17th so you get the college kids who are awake for kegs and eggs. I mean, no one in the world was watching that this morning.
And it's disappointing because, like, I'm not even going to blame the MLB for starting this at 6 a.m. because I get the time difference being in Tokyo. If it were like an NFL game, we would all have had our alarm set at 6 a.m. There's NFL on in Tokyo. Last night, we would have made sure our fantasy lineups were set. We would have been putting in parlays at 6 in the morning to come in, do a big factor recap of the first ever football game overseas. Same with like March Madness starts later this week, Thursday at noon. You know, the most of the United States is not going to be getting much work done after noon on Thursday, surely not Friday, because of all these March Madness games going on. You're going to be following along with your bracket. So it's not really the time that this thing starts. I think like most sports, we work in sports. I didn't even know this was going on this morning.
Well, here's the worst part.
That's not good.
Here's the craziest part. Yes, the marketing is one thing. Although I don't know how you really market baseball to get people to wake up at 6 in the morning. That's probably not going to work. The craziest part is Dodgers, Cubs played. They're going back to spring training. They play real games, and then you go back to spring training before the official start where every team plays their regular season games. That's crazy.
I mean, I get the logistics of it, that it's probably hard to send a team over to Japan and get the sleep schedules adjusted, then shoot them right back into baseball where sometimes you play 14 games in 15 days. Like, you might screw over a team for half a month if you send them to Tokyo in the middle of June or something. So I get why they have to do it now. But you're right, it's weird because then you go back to spring training and you play spring training and there's spring training games going on. And the Guards don't play their first game until the 29th of March, I want to say. I could be wrong about that, but it's probably right in that little bubble of 3 or 4 days. So that's not for another 10 days, a week and a half. It's a very linear, you're right. It doesn't make sense at all. And I get it. Like, it's a part of the big international appeal of the game. There's no secret that, in a way, someone up high by Uncle Rob Manfred is like, hey, we might not break out a third here in America for baseball. Let's just try and go win over Japan. That's why the Japan Dodgers have 15 Japanese players on their roster, you know? Like, we're kind of like getting into maybe like, okay, what if we made baseball like the soccer of South America and some of Asia or something? Like, we're trying to get the international because we're never going to get it back in America. That's what it has to be. But yeah, as a non-Japanese American baseball fan, it doesn't really move me for obvious reasons. I'm not going to wake up at 6 a.m., but I get why they have to do it.
I'm looking up the most popular sport in Japan.
It might be baseball.
Is baseball.
Already.
Yeah, it's got to be baseball.
Because, yeah, I mean, the KBO, I believe, is that's Korea. I'm sorry. The NPB is the Japanese league, I believe. Like, they always have great attendance. Did you guys see the one? I'm sorry, I forget their name. It's the something that starts with an H, Tigers, but they're one of the premier teams in the NPB. Beat the Dodgers a couple days ago.
I did see that, actually.
Yeah.
I did see that.
You see all the graphics then? Like, the Dodgers have traded for the whole entire roster.
Yeah, I did see that. Japan Dodgers. That's
What's
funny.
fascinating now in Asia, which is obviously a massive continent.
Can't understate the size of Asia.
You cannot. More detailed look at the most popular sports in Asia. Baseball is not cracking the
Is
top.
hockey above it? I feel like hockey might be above because of Russia.
Soccer, cricket, basketball, badminton, table tennis, and then baseball.
Wow.
Where's pickleball at? Did that get over the seas yet?
I don't think so.
Is that just a USA thing? Pickleball?
I don't know.
I'm sure it'll be
I have no clue. I know Can
international
Jam's
soon enough.
only American.
I have a problem, though. I wasn't even able to wake up in time to see that Freddie Freeman wasn't playing him taken out of my fantasy baseball lineup. So I already have a gripe.
It's brutal.
All right, guys, we got to get out of here. Huge thanks to Jeremy Piven for stopping in. Once again, go get your tickets. He'll be at the Agora Theater Thursday. If you can't make that show, it's not that long of a drive to Pittsburgh where he'll be playing Friday. Go check out his great movie.
I'm going to Pittsburgh
The
next
performance.
week for a concert, so not that far of a drive at all.
Yeah, no, not at all. I think hour 40-ish
Yeah,
from
closer
here.
to here to closer to Pittsburgh.
Such an easy drive.
Cincy.
Take the turnpike. You'll be there in no time. We'll be back tomorrow. Same people, same time. Huge thank you to Garage Beer. Huge thank you to Fairway Ford. Go get your tickets. You won't miss it. Jeremy Piven is fantastic. All right. Adios.